You can be a serious, disciplined, inflation-aware investor and still build a fragile financial life around gold. If you're in your late 30s, 40s, maybe early 50s, earning decent money, watching what central banks are doing, and you've decided gold and silver are your protection, this is for you. Because right now, there's something uncomfortable happening. That means holding cash, waiting, staying flexible is no longer the same as doing nothing. So if you believe the only real mistake is not owning enough gold, keep listening. Because the thing that's going to hurt you isn't your thesis, it's the size of your position. Drop a comment. What percent of your liquid net worth is in gold, silver, miners, or leveraged metal exposure? I'll read every single one. Before we go further, I want to be clear with you. I am not a licensed financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any major decision about gold, silver, miners, or leverage should be made with a qualified financial professional who understands your full situation. And one more thing. Past investment returns and past market patterns never guarantee future results. Because once you see how this trap feels in real life, the math hits differently. 6:11 in the morning. The room is quiet. Your alarm hasn't even gone off yet, but your eyes are already open. And your hand is already reaching for your phone. Not to check messages, not to check work. You're checking gold. You're checking silver. You're checking that one mining stock that's been sitting in your account like a promise and a threat at the same time. And before your feet even touch the floor, you already know what kind of day it's going to be. Green, and you feel validated, calm, justified, smart. Red, and something tightens in your chest that you don't talk about. Because this wasn't supposed to feel like this. This was supposed to be the responsible move. You didn't chase hype. You didn't gamble on nonsense. You didn't load up on things you don't understand. You studied inflation. You watched policy decisions. You paid attention while everyone else scrolled. This was you being careful. And yet you're brushing your teeth while mentally calculating how much you're down. You're pouring coffee while replaying where you bought. You're sitting across from your family at breakfast acting normal, while one part of your brain is still stuck on that number. And the strangest part, nothing about your life looks reckless from the outside. You're not overspending. You're not drowning in consumer debt. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to protect what you've built. But under the surface, there's a quiet pressure building. Because a position that was supposed to make you feel safe is now the thing you check before you decide how you feel. And somewhere in that loop, almost without noticing, conviction turned into concentration, and concentration turned into dependence. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because in a country where only about 55% of adults have even 3 months of emergency savings, you don't need a catastrophic collapse to feel real financial pressure. You just need a normal pullback at the wrong size. And this is the part most people never say out loud. I tell myself I cannot cut it now. Not after everything I already committed. Not after all the research. Not after sitting through the volatility. Not after explaining to myself over and over why this makes sense. So you hold, you watch, you wait. And slowly, without realizing it, your financial stability stops being about your income or your saving, and starts being about what the market does next. That's the shift. Not from wrong to right, from control to dependency. You didn't end up here by being careless. You ended up here because everything around you rewarded the exact mindset that built this position. Every headline told you the same story. Debt is rising, currencies are weakening, policy is unstable. Every video reinforced it. Hard assets win, fiat loses. Gold is protection. And slowly, that message stopped being information and started becoming identity. Not just what you own, but who you are. The one who sees it coming. The one who prepared. The one who didn't ignore the signs. So when prices dipped, you didn't hesitate. You added. Because that's what disciplined people do, right? They don't panic. They don't fold. They double down on what they believe. And the system loves that version of you. Because it doesn't need you to be wrong to take money from you. It just needs you to be positioned in a way that cannot survive time. Look at the environment you're operating in. Most households don't have deep reserves. Only about 55% of adults have even 3 months of emergency savings. That means half the country is one disruption away from needing liquidity. Now combine that with volatility, not collapse, not crisis, just normal movement. Gold pulls back, silver swings harder, miners drop even faster. And if you've concentrated too much into that space, your timeline gets shorter than your thesis. And then there's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Some of the tools people use to accelerate conviction are structurally designed for short-term movement. Leveraged products, the ones that promise 2 times, 3 times exposure, don't behave the way most people think they do. They reset daily, which means over time, especially in volatile conditions, their performance can drift significantly from what you expected. So now you have 3 forces working together: volatility, limited liquidity, and products that amplify movement in ways you don't fully see. And this is the moment most people miss. You did not misunderstand gold. You did not misunderstand inflation. You did not misunderstand the macro picture. You misunderstood how dangerous your expression of it became. That's the shift. Because once a position becomes too large, it stops being an investment and starts becoming a dependency on the market behaving quickly enough to justify the size you chose. And that's not a market problem. That's a structure problem. This is not your failure. This is their business model. Let's slow this all the way down, because this is the part that changes how you see your own money permanently. You're telling yourself something simple. This only cost me some volatility, a rough few weeks, maybe a rough few months, but nothing serious. So let's test that. That with theory, with your actual life. Take a clean number, $100,000. That's your total liquid net worth. Everything you can actually move. Now, you believe in gold, you believe in silver, you believe the system is unstable. So you allocate heavily, 80%. That's $80,000 sitting inside one thesis. Now, the market doesn't crash. It doesn't collapse. It just does something completely normal. It drops 25%. That $80,000 becomes $60,000. Pause there. You didn't lose some volatility. You lost $20,000. Not on paper. $20,000 of your actual net worth, that's not a chart. That's a transmission repair. That's tuition. That's months of mortgage payments. That's the buffer that keeps a bad year from becoming a life problem. And now your total net worth is $80,000 from one normal move. Now here's where it gets worse. To recover from 60,000 back to 80,000, you don't need 25%. You need 33.3%. You need a 1/3 gain just to get back to where you started. And while you're waiting for that, your life doesn't pause. Bills don't pause. Decisions don't pause. Stress definitely doesn't pause. Now run the exact same belief with a different structure. Same $100,000, same conviction. But instead of 80%, you allocate 20%, $20,000. Same market, same 25% drop. That position falls to $15,000. You lose $5,000. That's it. Same thesis, same timing, same market, completely different life. In the first scenario, you feel it in your chest. In the second, you notice it and move on. Now, here's the part almost nobody calculates. Opportunity costs. That extra $60,000 you forced into the position, what if it wasn't trapped there? What if it stayed liquid, stable, earning something, and more importantly, waiting? Even at a conservative 4% return, that $60,000 becomes $88,815 in 10 years. Stretch that to 20 years, that same $60,000 becomes $131,467. Now feel the gap. In one version of your life, you took a $20,000 hit and lost access to that compounding. In the other version, you took a $5,000 hit and kept your ability to grow and to act when it matters. That difference is the betrayal. Now, to be fair, there are situations where this math looks different. If your net worth is significantly higher, if your expenses are low, if this position is just one small piece of a much larger liquid balance sheet, then concentration doesn't carry the same consequences. But for most people watching this, this isn't theory. This is your household. And in your household, the market doesn't have to prove you wrong to hurt you. It just has to move before you're ready. There's one more layer to this because it hides behind a word that sounds harmless: leverage. It sounds efficient. It sounds intelligent. It sounds like you're just expressing the same idea with more force. But the structure underneath it is completely different. When you buy physical gold, you're holding something. When you buy a mining company, you're holding a business that is influenced by gold. But when you step into leverage exposure, you're stepping into a system that resets itself every single day. And that changes everything. Your brain thinks in straight lines. If gold goes up over time, this should go up more. But the actual mechanism doesn't work in straight lines. It works in paths, day by day, move by move, reset by reset. Over time, especially in volatile markets, the result can drift. Two people can have the exact same belief. Gold will go higher. One holds a stable position. The other uses leverage. Months later, they can both be right and end up in completely different places. One is intact. The other is confused, frustrated, trying to understand why the outcome doesn't match the story. That's not bad luck. That's structure. Because volatility doesn't just move price. It erodes positions that depend on consistency. And this is where the illusion breaks. You were solving the right problem with the wrong tool. Now, this is where everything changes. Not your belief, your structure. The survive the dip rule. Step 1. Separate what you own. Physical gold is defense. Mining companies are growth. Speculative and leveraged exposure is risk. If all of that feels like one idea in your head, you've already lost control. Step 2. Run the 25% test. If your position drops by 25%, what happens to your entire net worth? At 80% allocation, you lost $20,000. At 20%, you lost $5,000. That's the difference between damage and discomfort. Step 3. Protect time. If a normal pullback forces you to react, you were never in control. You were borrowing time from your own future. And here's the shift. Reducing size does not reduce belief. It separates intelligence from ego. Because the goal is not to prove you're right. The goal is to still be standing when you are. And when you see that clearly, you stop asking, how much can I make? And you start asking, how long can I last? And here's the part nobody tells you. When you finally get this right, nothing dramatic happens. There's no big win. What changes is your life gets quieter, you wake up, and you don't need to check your phone. Not because you stopped caring, but because your stability no longer depends on it. Gold is still there. Your thesis is still intact, but it's back where it belongs. In your portfolio, not controlling your peace of mind. A red day doesn't follow you anymore. It doesn't sit in your chest. Because now a pullback is just information, not a threat. And that's a different way to live. Because when your position is sized correctly, you gain something most people never experience. Time. You can wait. You can think. You can choose. And that's the real edge. Not being right, but lasting long enough for being right to matter. And if this is the first time you're realizing that gold miners and leverage exposure don't belong in the same mental bucket, the next video is the one you need. Because that's where we break down exactly how each one works and how to build a structure that actually protects you.